So welcome everyone today, the audience in the room and also joining virtually for our open forum on how to retain cyber professionals in the public sector. My name is Laura Hartmann. I work for the German Development Agency, GIZ, specifically on cyber capacity building, and I'll be moderating the session today. We are very privileged to be joined by a distinguished panel with speakers on-site and joining virtually from the public and private sector, who will bring in various perspectives and share national, regional, and global insights, and also present very concrete initiatives on how this issue could be addressed. For the audience on-site and online, you'll have the chance to actively join the discussion after our speakers' inputs. And before we start the session and before I'll give it over to the speakers, I'll give you a few framing points why we are here today to discuss this. So I think we are all aware that our digital economies are expanding, technologies are getting more sophisticated, and the number of cyber attacks and incidents is rising. What is not rising to a required extent is the number of cyber professionals protecting our infrastructures. So according to the Future of Jobs report published by the World Economic Forum this year, there's a shortage of 3.4 million globally in cybersecurity. And to support our global economy, and the number is only rising. Secondly, organizations are currently competing for talent mainly by paying more and more to the same pool of people. So one could argue that this exacerbates the staff shortage, and also the public sector cannot compete here because of a lack of funding. And thirdly, the whole topic is particularly important with an eye on developing cyber capacity building initiatives. So as GIZ, for example, we are commissioned by the Federal Foreign Office of Germany to implement cyber capacity building initiatives with partner countries from different contexts. And since we started implementation, all partners voiced the same issue, that they fear that reskilled, upskilled people will just leave the public sector. So our panel aims today to find answers to this challenge and how to close this gap in cybersecurity professionals, especially for the public sector. I'm happy to introduce you to our first speaker of our session now, which is Yasmin Idrisi Azuzi. Yasmin is a cyber program officer at ITU and works in the Bureau of Development. She's been leading cyber capacity building projects mainly for women, but also in the field of child online protection. She's involved in national cyber policy making, strategy development, and capacity building. So Yasmin, over to you.
Thank you very much, Laura, and for this very timely and very important topic as well. Thank you for the invite to share. So what I think is that it really boils down to making the field attractive. And the way to do that is twofold. Of course, quantitative measures are important to attract people. In fact, many communities are underrepresented in the cyber workforce, including women, including youth. And people often just don't envision themselves in cybersecurity jobs. They're not aware of the many opportunities that are present in the field in this important and growing workforce. There needs to be a need to raise awareness on the types of roles that are needed. Cybersecurity is just not technical, it's highly multidisciplinary. And we often forget that the public sector is also schools, securing hospitals, securing ministerial departments, and other key critical infrastructure for some countries. So the need is really there to focus on attracting marginalized communities as well. One way of doing that, the public sector can do this as well, sometimes better than the private sector, and that's offering some benefits like gender-sensitive work arrangements, childcare, parental leave, etc., so that there's also a better inclusion of women. And so that's on attracting people on a quantitative point of view. But also, it's important that once they're there, they need to stay. And the idea is to be able to retain them. And the best way to retain them is through some qualitative measures. One of them is to offer opportunities for career progression and leadership roles, even for people that have technical profiles. Be able to offer them that capacity to jump from a fully technical role to one more of leadership and maybe policy. And there needs to be this accommodation in a way for multidisciplinary roles. What is often observed is that there is a shortage among upper level positions as well. So we need to just acknowledge that there is a revolving door between the public and the private sector and really invest. So the investment should be twofold. Obviously, investment in people is key, but also investing in technology. I mean, cybersecurity professionals in the public sector are often very overworked, doing the job of several people sometimes. So sometimes investing in software that can automatize some aspects can help, can be, certainly of help. But of course, I think the most important is really to invest in people. The idea is to, have people in your institutions be encouraged to take part in capacity building programs. And at the ITU, we do offer them for the public sector, for example. And I would take a little moment to explain a couple of them. So one is the cyber drills. And these are these comprehensive, holistic exercises that are cross-country, cross-regions, that are for people in the public sector taking care of national policies and national incident response as well. And these are usually also for exchange between countries and trying to understand the lessons learned and the common challenges. Another project and program that we have for people in the public sector is specifically for women, and that's her cyber tracks, in which we are collaborating with the Foreign Federal Office of Germany, with Regina here, and the GIZ as well. And the idea of this is to, of course, allow for women not only to participate in national cyber policy making and cyber diplomacy at international level, but also to do it meaningfully through obviously training in understanding better the diplomacy, better the policy for the technical profiles, but also having a holistic approach of providing mentorship, providing role models, and networking, which is something that is definitely key in this field, trying to understand that the challenges that you are going through, other people have gone through, and that you're not sort of alone on this. So, as introduced by Laura at the beginning, there are, of course, the salary motivator that often is an issue between public sector and private sector. But what the public sector can do is offer what we call long-term motivators that are not like a higher salary, which is a short-term motivator. So one thing that we can focus on is really to promote that this is an opportunity for working for something that is challenging, try to appeal to people's sense of purpose, which of course this is not only the case in cybersecurity, but in the public sector in general. Trying to see if you believe in a mission where you are contributing to something that is for the betterment of your overall country and society. And one thing that we can do, and that is often overlooked, and in the cybersecurity community, we always sort of have this echo chamber, but it's important to look at other fields. There are a lot of studies on turnover rates and maintaining sort of employee engagement in the public sector. And so the public sector does have some strengths. Obviously, job security, stability of income, some non-financial benefits, as I mentioned, parental leave, paid leave, pensions. Also, of course, the prestige for working for one's government. So meaningfulness, definitely accomplishing something of real value, satisfaction and pride of the work that has been performed, and the possibility to progress as well. But one thing, and that's last but not least, I will really conclude on that, that's the recognition. Because with all the training in the world, I think I like this sort of metaphor of a plant. You can give it all the water, the nutrients it needs, In this case, obviously, it would be education and training, but it will not grow without sunlight, without shedding the light on it. So shedding the light on people's accomplishments and giving them value as people, not just, of course, numbers, is definitely something that can be helpful in attracting more people and retaining them and making them also proud to be working in the cybersecurity workforce for their government. Back to you, Lawa.
Thank you, Yasmin, for the input. So I think the key points that we heard from Yasmin was that we should pay more attention, or in the public sector, more attention should be paid on promotion strategies. So really shifting the awareness of people that are maybe not so attracted to the field, cybersecurity, as a working field. So underrepresented groups, marginalized groups, women, so that we can give them the possibility with cyber capacity building initiatives to join the workforce. Also, I think the opportunity for technical staff to switch to leadership roles, managerial roles, and vice versa. I think these are some key points that we should keep in mind for the discussion later. And I would now give the floor to one of our speakers online, Martina Castiglioni. She's a program officer of working in the ECCC, which is the European Cybersecurity Competence Center and Network. Before joining the ECCC, she was the head of training and advisory services at the Italian Cybersecurity Competence Center and was heavily involved in the development of cybersecurity training campaigns at national level. She worked in cybersecurity advisory services and supported operators of critical infrastructures. And her expertise includes cybersecurity risks management, governance, cybersecurity auditing and assessments, and crisis management. Thank you, and over to you, Martina.
Good morning, everyone. Could you hear me? Could you confirm?
Yes, we hear you.
Okay, thank you. Could you also see me?
We cannot see you at the moment.
Okay.
Maybe that still changes.
Okay. So, by the way, good morning, everyone, or good afternoon. Firstly, thanks for inviting me here. And in this really short time, I will try to bring here a glimpse of what is going on in Europe regarding this topic, and in particular, what is going on under the competence of European Cybersecurity Competence Center, ECCC. As mentioned by Laura, indeed, I'm working for this new center focused on cybersecurity. I'm indeed calling from Bucharest, where the European Cybersecurity Competence Center is located. And let me introduce in few words the role of this center. The center was established in 2021, but is operational from this year. And the center, together with the member states, together with the industry and the cybersecurity technology community, has the aim to shield the European Union society from cyber attacks, maintain research excellence, and reinforce the European Union industry in this field, and also boost the development and deployment of course, advanced cybersecurity solution. The center, the ECCC, will play a key role in delivering on the ambitious cybersecurity objectives of the DEP, the Digital Europe Program, and the Horizon Europe programs. And these two programs, of course, have also the aim to narrow the cybersecurity skills shortage of Europe, both in public and in private sector. I would like to explain better that this center, the ECCC, of course, is operating in a new framework, a European cybersecurity framework, because it's working together with the so-called network of NCC, so National Coordination Center. So in this way, each member state will have a contact point a contact point for the European Cybersecurity Competence Center, and we receive fundings from a European program, and will develop cybersecurity capacity building activity at national and regional level, and promote cybersecurity educational programs at national and regional level under the big hat of the European Cybersecurity Competence Center. In this way, we aim to facilitate the collaboration and the sharing of expertise and capacities among Europe, in particular among the research, the academia, the public authorities, under the so-called cybersecurity competence community, that is the third player of this new European Union framework after the Competence Center and after the NCC networks. So, of course, the initiatives that are going on in Europe to tackle the topic of this agenda, based on the fact that the security of the European Union cannot be guaranteed without the most valuable asset, our people. So, and as shown by the latest report at European level, mainly published by ENISA, a larger number of cybersecurity incidents have also targeted public administration and governments in member states and public bodies at European and national level. So we need professionals with the skills and competencies to prevent and defend the Union, including its most critical infrastructure against cyber attacks and ensure its resilience. But also we need skilled people that are needed to implement the cybersecurity legislations to deliver the cybersecurity legal and policy requirements. Otherwise, those pieces of legislations will not achieve their objectives. So regarding the initiative the initiatives that are going on so far in Europe, of course, we have many public and private investment initiatives in focusing closing the cybersecurity skills gap also in the public sector. Of course, these initiatives already existed, but the situation shows that the cybersecurity skill gap still represents a huge issue, and it might be referred to the lack of synergies and coordinated action to close that have been taken so far to close this cybersecurity skill gap. Indeed, the Europe's Digital Decade Policy Program 2030 has set the target of increasing the number of ICT professionals by 20 million by 2030, and also narrowing the cybersecurity skills gap that we have in the public sector, but the cyber gender skill gap that we have in this field. I would like to mention this concrete initiative that is going on, that has been established in particular this year, the so-called Cybersecurity Skill Academy. The Academy, I will refer to this with the word Academy. That will be our single point of entry and synergies for cybersecurity education and training. And we will offer also funding opportunities and specific action for supporting the development of cybersecurity skills. Of course, the main focus will be skilling the cybersecurity professionals in Europe. And the implementation of this academy will be supported by 10 million funding from the so-called Digital Europe program. And the European Cybersecurity Competence Center indeed will implement the strategic objective cybersecurity under this program. The Academy so far has its concrete representation in a dedicated website that is available, public available. But strategically and operationally, the Academy refers to 4 pillars. The first one is fostering knowledge generation through education and training by working on a common framework for cybersecurity role profiles and associated skills. And here I would like to mention that ENISA has defined a specific European cyber skills competent framework that defines roles, profiles, competencies of cybersecurity professional. And this will be our first basis for the Academy to define and assess the current skills, the skills that we need, and monitor the evolution of the skills gap and provide indication of specific new needs also for the public sector. Another important pillar will be, of course, design a specific cybersecurity education and training curricula suitable for these specific roles. And here I would like to mention the project CyberSec Pro, funded by the DEP, which brings together 17 higher educational institutions and 13 security companies from 16 member states in order to collect the best experience and become the best practice for all cybersecurity training programs that will be developed under the Academy. Then I would like also to mention that this is a responsibility of each member state. Indeed, the NCCs, so the National Coordination Center, are invited to explore how to set up the so-called cyber campus in each member state. The cyber campus would aim at providing pools of excellence at national level for the cybersecurity community, and the academy will help their networking and the coordination of the activities of the different cyber campus in each member state. And this responsibility that each member state has, it refers to a specific piece of our legislation, European cybersecurity legislation, because each member state in Europe, according to European legislation, should adopt, as a part of their national cybersecurity strategy, specific measure in view of mitigating the cybersecurity skills shortage. Then I would like to mention briefly the last important pillar of this academy initiative, and then I will close. I know that the time is running out, of course, we understood that we have to better gain visibility of the different initiatives that are going on in Europe. So for another important pillar of the academy will be ensuring a better visibility over the available funding opportunities for skills-related activities in order to maximize their impact. And with this objective, I would like to mention that there is going on a specific working group managed by the European Cybersecurity Competence Center in collaboration with the NISA and with the Commission, that has the aim to map all the initiatives and all the cybersecurity training initiative and all the cybersecurity funds opportunities related to the narrowing the cybersecurity skill gap. In this way, with a better overview and an efficient overview of the current cybersecurity funds related to this specific topic, of course, this will help to better define the priorities in terms of fundings of this academy and of the Digital Europe program broadly. Then I will close this overview of the academy. Of course, mention that another important pillar of this academy will be defining indicators to monitor the evolution of the market and be able to assess the effectiveness of the actions of the academy. So under the academy, a specific methodology will be developed that we will allow to measure the progress of this the progress to close the cybersecurity skills gap. Will be defined specific cybersecurity indicators to monitor the evolution of the cybersecurity labor market in order to be able to assess and to re-elaborate and to adjust funding opportunities and the activities that are going on. There will be specific KPIs on cybersecurity skills by the end of 2023 that will be elaborated by ENISA. And in this way, with this KPI, we will be able to collect data on indicators and also report on them with a first collection by 2025. Because another issue that has been revealed so far is that we didn't have a specific report about cybersecurity skills gap based on common indicators, common KPIs. And of course, this has been so far it has been an issue to then better identify the priorities and to take with this with the issue of cybersecurity skills gap, in particular also at public sector. So with this new advancement in terms of elaborating KPIs and elaborating report, we in this way, of course, this will be an important pillar for the overall achievement of the Cybersecurity Academy. I will come back to you, Laura, and sorry if I take more time.
Thank you, Martina. So to, yeah, so highlighting what you just said, just two highlights. Thank you first of all for giving us an overview of what the EU institutions and agencies do, and I think it's really interesting what you said on the lack of synergies between them on regional level. So this highlights the need for even more coordinated approaches on cyber capacity building again, also to retain, reskill, attract, and upskill people. And it's reassuring that the ECCC takes initiative on EU level. And then also, I think what came clear is that we need to really focus on the concrete roles. So what kind of professions do we want to have in the jobs market? So these have to be first identified, pointing to the need of conducting studies on that. So what kind of job roles are really needed? Because if you Google that, if you research for that, it's always about the workforce gap in cybersecurity, but never about concrete roles. And so yeah, coming back to the panel and the speakers, happy to give the floor now to Komitas Stepanyan on my left. Komitas is the Technology and Cybersecurity Director at the Central Bank of Armenia, and he's part of the team working for national level digital transformation, including cybersecurity in Armenia. He's a short-term consultant for the World Bank for Digital Transformation and GovTech activities, and also works partly for the IMF for cybersecurity initiatives and programs. Komitas, please have the floor.
Thank you very much. Much better. Thank you very much for this opportunity to speak in this very important panel. Actually, you have already mentioned a couple of important things, like there is a huge shortage of cyber professionals and how to fill this gap. And another thing, that cybersecurity is quite wide. Everyone talks about the cybersecurity skills shortage, but what kind of special shortage do we need? For example, if you Google, you can find that right now almost all companies, including public sector, they need database admins, network admins, people who can really understand how the entire technology server infrastructure works. These are a little technical, but these are part of cybersecurity. Overall, let me explain what we how Central Bank of Armenia is a public institution, and how my country overall, what are we doing, how we are trying to fill this skill gap in the public sector. First of all, we need to increase the pipeline. To do that, there was an interesting initiative and campaign run by the leadership of the Central Bank of Armenia. Imagine the Deputy Governor of Central Bank of Armenia was leading the team, and we met most recognized universities in Armenia, top 5 universities in Armenia, to talk with the management, first of all, and to see what kind of programs, what kind of specific subjects or syllabuses can be developed for different universities. And secondly, we met all students to promote this activity. I was dreaming that when I was a student, somebody could come to my university to talk about this initiative, that, for example, being a young student in the, I don't know, 2nd or 3rd grade, I can have chance to join to the public sector and work for the Central Bank of Armenia or Ministry of Finance or other public institution. So it had a huge impact, and we had a great response from different universities. We continued this campaign. We collected more than 300 CVs, then did an interview to identify 30 talents, to torture them for 6 months, to have a team working for cybersecurity. Currently, it's very important to have incident response team for any public institution. This is our one of the main strategic objectives. 2 years ago, we established an information system agency who is responsible for 3 main pillars. First is digital identification, national level. Second is the interoperability of the public institutions, and not only public institutions. And third pillar is cybersecurity. So this institution is responsible for working with the academia, with different universities, to create specific subjects based on our needs to fill this gap. After that, we work with the international recognized organizations to provide specific training for 25 people, which has been carefully selected from different public institutions, from different ministries, agencies, including central bank and a couple of commercial banks as well. We had a special training for incident response, for forensic research, and for compliance and audit of cybersecurity incidents. Because once again, if there is not enough capacity to recognize that there is an incident, then it's gonna be end of day. And according to the statistics, cyber breach identification, on average time for cyber breach identification is over 200 days, according to the statistics. So imagine cyber criminals are hacking your environment, and after 200 years you can be able, and some institutions unfortunately are not able to identify that their systems are breaked. So this was the second initiative, and right now this process is going on, and I'm waiting to the results. The exam will be at the end of October. It's an ongoing process, and I hope a couple of my colleagues will get certified, will become a certified for cybersecurity incident response, which is really very important. And we would like to continue this training program, and couple of them who already certified can become like trainers, or they can share their experience with others. We also closely cooperating with the private sector, because we all know that lots of good professionals work for private sector. We have already heard that public sector cannot be attractive if you are looking only salary. Private sector pays more, but public sector has its own beauty, because we are working for a mission. Mission and challenge is more important for many ones. So during your career, mainly at the middle of your career, you may rethink that, money is a very short motivator, as Yasmina already mentioned, and I'm fully agree with this. But the objective, what are you doing? And when you empower your young colleagues that, whatever you do will have an impact on thousands or maybe million people, it can be the most great motivator for them. So we are continuing this program, and I hope after another year we'll have more certified professionals. Also, we are working for setting up a national cert, and it's also an ongoing process. And after that, we would like to have a recognized national cert to work with the international other certs, and after that we'll apply for being a member of FIRST. At this moment, I hope this helps as a concrete examples. Thank you.
Yeah, thank you very much for your points, Komitas. I think the most, or what became clear is mission and purpose, right? That you mentioned, that can account for maybe the lack of funding, or just so private companies are paying more. It's the top one argument for the lack of cybersecurity skills in the public sector. Happy to take this into discussion later. So just to speed up a bit, because we're running a little bit short in time, I'll give the floor now to the second virtual speaker that we have today, Marie Nde Sene Ahuanste. She is a digital specialist with 22 years of experience in the field of information systems and digital transformation. And in August last year, she joined the ECOWAS Commission, where she works as a program officer for e-applications and e-government, and is there responsible overall for coordination and the driving of the digital transformation efforts on behalf of the Commission in ECOWAS. The floor is yours, Marie.
Thank you, Laura. Good morning, everyone. I'm very delighted to have this opportunity to join the panel. So thank you on the behalf of our Commission Infrastructure, Energy and Digitalization of ECOWAS. ECOWAS is the Economic Community of West African States. I'm not the main resources in cybersecurity, but I will try to share with you during this panel ECOWAS approach and perspective on cybersecurity,
Marie,
and more
just
especially on the workforce. So ECOWAS
1 second,
region
can you try to switch off your video so that we also have the chance to see you in the room? Thank you.
Can you see me, please?
Yes, we can. Perfectly.
All right. So ECOWAS region and widely Africa face growing cyber security challenges. I'm sure that you are aware of that. And this is a result of the digital transformation that has given rise to new opportunities for malicious cyber activities. Many studies have pointed out the urgent need for a skilled workforce capable of effectively answering the growing cyber threats that the region is facing. Globally, in digital skills, it was announced in 2023 at the 12th Assize for African Digital Transformation in Madagascar that the need for digital skills in Africa will reach 230 million people by 2030, while just 5% to 10% of these needs are covered depending on the country. Specifically, if we talk about cybersecurity, the KPMG's 2023 Cybersecurity Outlook mentioned that the fact that the percentage of government and public sector organizations with appropriate cyber resources to meet their needs is only 29%. Given the persistence of the critical needs for cybersecurity professionals, the coordinated regional approach of ECOWAS, the ECOWAS cybersecurity agenda, aims to increase cyber resilience in the region and to support member states in strengthening their capacity building, which certainly require the availability of a skilled cybersecurity workforce. The supply of cybersecurity specialists in ECOWAS region, I can say, is under capacity in the face of the exploding demand. To address this concern, ECOWAS Commission and West African government are multiplying efforts in cybersecurity education and training initiatives, identification of cybersecurity talents, capacity building, cooperation, partnership, and awareness. For example, at the regional level, in collaboration with EU, the OSIWASI project is the West African response on cybersecurity and fight against cybercrime was set up. As a means of building a sustainable cyber workforce in the region, under OSIWASI, the ECOWAS Commission launched the ECOWAS Regional Cybersecurity Hackathon. This hackathon helped to build a regional pool of cybersecurity youth to assess the level of the region's maturity in terms of skills in cybersecurity and fight against cybercrime, and also to increase the interest of youth in digital security. To upskill professionals, still under OSIWASI, the ECOWAS Commission and its partners are supporting the judicial authorities of the region to tackle the need through global capacity building initiatives. In the same dynamic, I can say that the advanced training was provided in 2023 to member states with the computer security incident response team in order to enhance capabilities for handling cyber incidents and managing threats. As part of cooperation in cybersecurity, a joint platform G7 ECOWAS for Advancing Cybersecurity was launched also in September 2023 to increase partnership for the continued implementation of ECOWAS cybersecurity agenda for a resilient cyberspace in West Africa. At the national level, the country in West Africa have adopted a series of cybersecurity measures, including the development of cybersecurity education. As an example, I can cite the National Digital Academy that was being launched to offer advanced training to Beninese trainers and managers in ICT, artificial intelligence, and cybersecurity. This is the outcome of the partnership between Benin's Ministry of Digital Affairs and Smart Africa Digital Academy. Despite the efforts I just mentioned, African countries are facing a real brain drain. To attract digital professionals, the public sector generally apply a specific salary policy, such as a bonus founded on the base salary. This remains insignificant in a global context of digital talent shortage, and the major consequence of which is a brain drain. Aware of the inadequacy of the public sector to compete with the private sector and of the attractiveness of the market for cybersecurity talent, education and training are now recommended to be included in the national strategies. The public sector is also exploring a multi-stakeholder approach involving private sector and international partners. A good example of collaboration in Togo is the Memorandum of Understanding signed with UNECA, the United Nations Economic Commission for Africa, to collaborate on establishing the African Center for Coordination and Research in Cybersecurity. And I know that efforts are ongoing to fast track the realization. I wanted also to share the following best practices of public-private partnership is the specific case of the strategic partnership between Togolese Republic and a company named ASECO Data System is in Poland. This partnership gave birth in 2019 to Cyber Defense Africa. Is a joint venture company that offers cybersecurity services mandated by the Togolese Republic to ensure security information system in Togo and beyond its border. The partnership combined the CERT with a national SOC. Given the limits of the public sector in terms of its ability to keep its talent and the global shortage of cybersecurity, the way out that I see for our region are to elaborate national cyber workforce and education strategies, develop cybersecurity capacity building and education plan, introduce gender diversity by getting girls interested early, revamp the public recruitment process and condition, expand the talent pool by collaboration, invest in training and development program to promote cyber certification, to develop the talent inside the public sector. To finish, the last way out I see is to follow ITU guideline when developing the national cybersecurity strategy, especially on the capability and capacity building and awareness raising. Thank you, Laura. This is what I wanted to share with you, what is going on in our region. Thank you very much.
Thank you very much, Marie. Your input is very well noted and appreciated. I think you've had, just to highlight one point that was, I think, specifically important is the note that you put forward of the brain drain. So you're facing challenges that go well beyond the cybersecurity workforce gap. So I think we should be aware when working in cyber capacity building initiatives in partner initiatives with countries from the global south, that this is a multi-challenge ally, and that we should be aware of that. So I think now over to the fifth speaker of this panel, which is Ms. Regine Greenberger. She is the cyber ambassador at the German Federal Foreign Office and a career diplomat. Her professional path has focused on EU foreign relations, EU economic and financial issues, and common agricultural policy. And yeah, dear Regine, as the FFO has been increasingly involved in cyber capacity building for the past years, what would be your lines of, we're very happy to hear your lines of thought on the topic, please.
Thank you, Laura. First of all, I want to say I appreciate very much what all the other speakers on the panels have said, because it is really highlighting the very complexity of this problem of how to retain the cyber workforce in the public sector. I'm speaking as a civil servant who is both working inside a public institution that has experiences this shortage of experts, but also as somebody who is engaged in cyber capacity building, and it has been mentioned cyber tracks. Marie mentioned the ECOWAS action plan and other projects that we think or we hope are helpful to kind of establish a new or a better substrate for cyber experts with our global partners. So one thing I wanted to say before I go I advance it with my notes is a discussion that I often have with my counterparts, and that is, does the public sector really need cyber experts, or can everything be outsourced to the private sector? And we have a discussion going on both within Germany but also within the European Union, and I think many of you will know this perhaps from home, the discussion about what is digital sovereignty, this ambition to have a digital sovereignty as a government or as a state. What does it demand from governments? And certainly having control on our own networks as governments is one important part of digital sovereignty. And so I would answer this question, is it possible to outsource cybersecurity to the private sector? Yes, we've seen very good examples where this works very well. For example, in Ukraine, that is relying heavily on the private sector to maintain government networks in times of war. But you also have to take care of covering your own needs with your own experts. Our cybersecurity agency gives the recommendation to set 15% of your digital or digitization budget aside for cybersecurity measures, including personnel and also training. And I think this is also a good benchmark if you are thinking about how much will this cost me. So 15% is a good rule of thumb of how much it will cost at least. Martina described the demands or the requests stemming from the new NIS directive, so our updated European cybersecurity regulation. In Germany, we assume that the number of cyber experts needed for critical infrastructure will be ×8 what we have now, because ×8 institutions will appear on the list of entities that have to follow or have to comply with the standards of this new regulation. And you can imagine that this means about 10,000 of cyber experts missing within the moment that this regulation enters into force. This can only be dealt with if we take it really seriously, also as public sector, that we have to really find and also build these experts. I have two immediate remedies perhaps to propose. One is pooling. We recommend this also, for example, you mentioned schools and universities. I would say also municipalities. Perhaps they are too small to afford their own cybersecurity expert, but certainly not too small to join forces with other with other municipalities in a similar situation and pool cybersecurity services for several public institutions. And the other one, and that is also a lessons learned from Ukraine, is moving things to the cloud makes it also much easier to take care of cybersecurity. So I'm not recommending a specific offer from a specific corporate company, but we have seen that this helps because it's then well protected by the most advanced and sophisticated tools. A third recommendation that I would like to make is make it a little bit easier for the few cyber experts you have by raising the digital and cyber literacy of your workforce in general. So we are, for example, conducting a cybersecurity month in October, actually these days, to inform our colleagues about cyber threats, how they are themselves high-value targets for cybercriminal organizations and state actors conducting espionage operations, so that they know a little bit better how to protect themselves with easy means, because, I mean, that's a cliche, but the weakest link in the cybersecurity chain is always the human. So my recommendation, make it easier to by increasing the cyber literacy of your workforce. Okay, then now what kind of experts are actually needed? That was also been mentioned already. So I would say, and I see it in contact with my colleagues also from our IT department, you need technical experts, and you need also people who are able to speak the language of management and hierarchy, so that the higher up levels of management of a ministry, for example, understand the need and the requests, understand also the need to invest and to raise these costs, because it's a costly exercise to improve cybersecurity. So I think by hiring one person that can actually speak the language of management, you might be able to free money to hire 10 more experts who then do the groundwork. And then in exchange with my colleague from the IT department, I also learned that they're basically always hiring people that are not up for the job that they are meant for. So they are always hiring people who have more generic knowledges than needed, but then are upskilled or reskilled on the job, or so by their colleagues, or by short-term cybersecurity reskilling or upskilling programs that we buy from the market. So then there was this issue of competition with the private sector. Of course, mostly it will not be the case that money and salary offerings are adequate to attract the workforce, but purpose is really an important thing, and purpose is not only the recognition by the higher levels, but also understanding at which part of the machine you are actually working. So a more holistic view of cybersecurity might also help to retain people in the sector if they understand that in the public sector they are allowed to really contribute to a bigger picture that they also understand. Plus job security, flexible work arrangements, I think, especially for women, also the particular protection that perhaps civil servants have in the public sector is something interesting. Of course, this is not for all workplaces, but for some, for example, for our ministry, that is an argument for women to join the Foreign Office and not a private sector company. Then there is also this idea, it's not worth training experts in the public sector because they will be stolen by private companies afterwards, so I don't invest. So I would recommend, don't think in these terms. Think of it in terms of job rotation. So you train the people as public sector, you release them to private companies, and you gain them back at a later stage of their career. I think this is particularly true in all the field of IT experts, they have so many opportunities and usually are also curious people, so you should let them look at other opportunities and perhaps gain them back. And my last point is we are in a very transformative period of time with regard to IT, digitization, and cybersecurity. So our job profiles and the educational profiles, and somebody mentioned it, was it Marie or Laura? These curricula that we have in high schools and graduate schools and universities and business schools are perhaps not up to date. So we should work with our, for example, in our case, Ministry of Education and Ministry of Labor, to update also the job profiles, educational profiles, so that the institutions are really also able to produce the kind of knowledgeable people that we need. Thank you.
Thank you very much for this comprehensive input, Regine. And I will directly give it back to our last speaker joining virtually. She's Lara Pace. Lara has just under 15 years of international experience working in building cybersecurity capacity across the world. And she has worked for multilateral and national government academia and is now working for PGI in the private sector, where she's the head of the capacity building practice. Lara, it's my pleasure to hand it over to you.
Hi, Laura. Good afternoon. It's been fascinating listening to my colleagues and understanding all these initiatives that are on the way. I guess you're quite tight for time.
Yes, yeah. That's correct. Can we do overtime by 5 minutes, please? Yes.
Okay, so I think I'm going to leave you with a couple of points. So essentially, I've been working internationally for 15 years, and the beginning of my career really focused on developing governance structures and cybersecurity strategies, and really creating plans at the national level. And now, having done that for so many years, I'm focused on essentially doing the same, but in helping governments really build the human resource to implement those strategies. There were a couple of points that I picked up on, which is now the ambassador's point about jobs rotation, which is fundamental, I think. This might sound a little bit controversial, but I think if you have skills and expertise in the public sector that suddenly moves into the private sector, that could fundamentally be seen as a positive. I'm in no way encouraging brain drain here, but essentially responding to cyber attacks and cyber incidents requires a whole ecosystem approach. So suddenly you're sat in the civil service and you are working with private sector individuals that have been trained by the public sector and also understand the challenges of the public sector. So are now sat in the private sector thinking about the challenges for the national perspective and can offer interesting solutions. So that's one point I wanted to make. I really agreed with Yasmin's contribution in terms of retention of skills in the public sector, in terms of really creating an inclusive environment, having very clear career pathways, so people can understand where they can progress, because as human beings, we all want to progress and better ourselves, both personally and as an organization or as a national institution. And the last thing is incentivization, and that does not necessarily equate with more money. The last point I wanted to make was, I think, and sometimes I'm guilty of this, as a cybersecurity professional working internationally, I think, cyber is the ultimate priority at a national level. And actually, we really need to consider, if we are going to make interventions in terms of skilling up and training, that there is also a similar initiative happening to ensure that the jobs are being created to retain that talent, especially in emerging markets. We get a lot of requests and we see a lot of RFPs for governments to have like skilling programs. But sometimes that happens in like a silo, and what happens is you have this very intense sort of skilling up program, and then the expertise does not remain within that geography. So I think it's really important that it has to be a two-pronged approach, or maybe not a two-pronged. I think about capacity building as a 1980s hair comb. You know, each tooth has to come all together, like in a national coordination effort. Yeah, I think I wanted to leave you with just those key points. We work from Latin America and the Caribbean all the way to the Pacific, helping governments skill up. So yeah, I think somebody mentioned academies, which is one of the things that we do. But I thought I would just leave you with those two comments, because I know you're very tight for time.
Thank you very much, Lara. So if we have some more minutes, can we allow for a question from the audience? Or is there even a question from the audience? Please come in. Yes.
I'm from the government of Sri Lanka, and we closely got many benefits from EU and some of the partner countries in capacity development, and including of the development of the cybersecurity strategy and the policy. So we developed the policy for the 5 years. So then now the challenge is to implement it. So we failed. I'm a civil servant for the past 23 years. So by the time the word ransomware came to media, so we just grab it, but nobody in the public sector had hardly heard about it. And we got the private sector experts to explain. So time to time we have the collaboration with the private sector, and we have also in a separate track the military and the forces, armed forces. They have their own kind of cyber defense, but we keep it in a very strategical way to bring that knowledge to the normal civil service work and other work. Somebody mentioned about the capacity building and curriculum change. I think the remote speaker, I think we gave this into the most of the ICT or digitalization related curriculum school and the academia. But we as a country face a challenge of losing the talent from the market to going overseas. Private sector itself, so we are a small country of 20 million. We have currently the IT industry has about 30,000 vacancies for the graduates. So that there's a challenge for the private sector itself. So without a collaboration, the capacity building within the government itself won't be a sustainable solution. That's the way I see it. And yeah.
Thank you very much. Any of the speakers would like to come in or leave it with the note? Okay, so then I would like to thank you all for listening. Thank you very much to our speakers joining virtually at the very early morning in Europe and in Africa. And thank you very much to the speakers here on the panel. And you want to make note? Yes, please.
Hello. Hi, thank you. We are hearing to you the lots of things you have discussed, but we know that many of the time government and private sector has hacking, but I want to know how to fully save any government or any private sector by hacking. Can you tell me something?
So the question was, if I understand correctly, how to fully secure the government system from hacking attacks.
I can try being very technical. I started my career in a very technical level, and now I'm at the leadership level. there is nothing which is impossible to hack in the world, and there will not be, because digital world is imperfect. Always there will be weaknesses which can be used to hack systems, different types of systems. Maybe Pentagon, I don't know, White House will see such kind of activities, and will see in the future. There is nothing 100% possible to be safe, and technology always has weaknesses.
Okay, thank you very much. I think we need to close the session now to give the floor to the other session that's coming, that's about to take place here. So yeah, I think let us just all agree that really a holistic approach is very, very important. So beginning from the education, and then an ecosystem approach that our last speaker has voiced. Lara, I think that's fundamental. So cross-industry initiatives, really, so that we go from a nice to have to public, to really raise the awareness that it's a public safety issue as well. And ultimately, yes, we need people that can talk to management, that understand that there's the need for investment, and that translate this. So thank you very much, everyone, and happy IGF.